Excellent. It's good to see you too, Jason. It's been a long time. We've been at this, hasn't it?
It really has, and I love your story, and I do want to schedule a time to do a long form podcast interview with you because I think people need to hear what you have when you started truly fully grassroots and figuring out what to do, and you've come a long ways, and now
Yeah.
you are what? What is your
Uh,
title now?
My title's Republican State Committeewoman, and that means I represent the 117,000 Republicans from Seminole County
Mm.
at the state party level. So I'm a member of the Republican Party of Florida, and I answer to all of those Republicans, in particularly in winning elections in Seminole County, but also statewide elections.
So if you had to pick one thing, what are you really focused on this week to save America? What
Well,
what problem are you trying to solve?
my problem is always to recruit, train, support, and mentor as many volunteers as I can. Sometimes it's a revolving door. People get married, they move. So we always have to recruit new people and get them up to speed. And that's where my heart is. I love to help new volunteers.
So is that working? Because I've seen a lot of places I talk to a lot of people and they seem a little flat. Maybe they're not quite growing, which is why I want to do this show and these types of segments is to show people you don't have to be just frustrated about the election or
Right.
frustrated about what's going on in the country. We have a lot more control over the situation than we realize. We've got to get plugged in somewhere.
Exactly. And so here's one of the lessons I teach new volunteers. Right now, you control one vote, you control your own vote. And sometimes you can influence your spouse or your adult children or your parents. When you become a precinct committee woman or a precinct committee man, you learn the tools and how to influence 10 other voters, 100 other voters, 1,000 other voters. You look at some of our state representatives, they can influence several thousand voters. A congressman can, influence 10,000 voters. And when you get to President Trump, he can influence millions of voters. So
Right.
your reach is out there for you to go grab. You just have to work at it.
Yeah, there's a story I tell in the Save America training camp. I say two people walk into your congressman's office. One of them has a briefcase with $1,000 in it. The other one's you. Who are they going to listen to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that $1,000 they're going to use in a campaign ad and they're going to influence voters. But how many do you influence?
Right. But a third person who comes in who has 1,000 signed petitions asking for an agenda item, they're going to get listened to first before the $1,000.
That's awesome. So what do you have going on this week?
So right now I have been, earlier this week I met with an international delegation. The State Department puts these on. They bring in members of parliament from European nations. That's who I met with earlier this week. And I'm an ambassador for the Republican Party and how to activate young people to vote. That's what I spoke about on the other day. I had the time of my life. I've done this several times now. I also am going to a fundraiser tonight for a county commission candidate. It's important to show up at those. You meet a lot of good people and you connect with people. And our job ultimately is facilitating all these connections between candidates, grassroots volunteers, donors, and so forth. So that's all I do is I do group text with a lot of these people I want to connect. Also, I am promoting what I spend a lot of my time on is building Republican clubs. And these Republican clubs start out mostly social, where folks can get together and commiserate about Joe Biden and what he's doing to the economy and the country, and also learn the ropes, meet their elected officials. The sheriff comes out and speaks, the tax collector. It's a good time, and it's very important for people to feel connected. And
Yeah.
that's how you get started. Get connected, meet people, and then get to work.
That's awesome. Yeah, I back in the day, 20 years ago, with the Orange County Young Republicans, when I first started, we had such an amazing group of people that
Yes.
got together and volunteered. So we had 19 of us went to the inauguration, and it
Nice.
was like a band of brothers. They're still friends that we served. It seems like we served our community, and we were in the cause so deep that we just built these lifelong friendships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lifelong friendships. I was dialoguing with someone, I was involved with Ted Cruz campaign back in 2015, 2016. I'm still friends with these guys all over the country.
Yeah.
We got together and worked on that campaign. It's been a journey, and you and I go back to the early Tea Party days. That was a
Yeah.
great time stopping,
Yeah.
trying to stop the Sunrail train and whatnot.
Yeah, back in the glory days when we only had a $9 or $10 trillion national debt.
Yeah, I know. Mitch McConnell, everyone's talking about his
Yeah,
18 years. The debt went from 9 trillion to 34 trillion.
right. Bye bye. Bye-bye, Mitch.
Bye-bye, Mitch.
So if you're talking to someone right now who's worried about our country, has a lot of anxiety about the upcoming election, what do you tell them?
So you can find your local Republican Party and just show up. Politics is about just showing up.
Mhm.
I have my website. I bring people in. We advertise. I just connected someone who's moving to Colorado with the Colorado GOP in Weld County.
Mhm.
I make that phone call. I'm not shy about making those calls. Call your local county party, find out when their next meeting is, and show up and make friends. Right. And the best way to make a difference is just to ask, how can I help? How
Yep.
can I help?
Now more than ever, your country needs you. God bless you,
Yes.
Linda. And how can people reach you, your website?
So my website is lindatrocine.com, and that's LindaTrocine.com. And I just finished running for National Committeewoman, so I've morphed my website from a National Committeewoman campaign back to a State Committeewoman campaign. That was the time of my life. I left my speech up there. If people want to see what we need to do over the next several years to save America, I had a bold agenda for the Republican Party, and still want to share that.
Yeah, you're in Central Florida. Get connected with Linda on her website. I saw your newsletter yesterday, and it is chock full of information and dates and places of where people can get plugged in and get
Exactly.
active. So God bless you, Linda.